Hello there, welcome back to another video. Today I'm talking about King Kong, the original Kong. Now, I've already covered Peter Jackson's Kong film, which I really enjoyed despite its self-indulgences. I am going to cover the John Gilliman one, the 1976-77 one, which I'll be watching soon before Kong vs Godzilla. I'll also be covering King Kong Escapes, but they'll probably be the same video, because they're both films with a man in a big suit, basically. So I'll probably do them in the same video. I used to have King Kong Lives, the sequel to the King Kong 77 one. I can't find it anymore. I was going to look forward to do it, but I can't find it. But I watched King Kong last night again on projector. So it was projected, covered massive space. It was a joy. It was a real joy. I've never actually seen it projected before. I've only ever seen it on TV, on different TVs. And seeing it projected is a different experience. It really is. I mean, Kong always works no matter where you see it. Kong is just a beautiful film. It's just a perfect film. I mean, I've just talked about Excelled, and Kong's the same thing. It's perfect. Everything's perfect in this film. Even the flaws are perfect. It's one of those ones that's like, you don't have to remake it because it's perfect the way it is. You do not need to do a new version of it. But people love it, so they're going to do their own versions of it. But it's never going to be the same version. It's kind of like Halloween. It was done so perfect first time out. You don't need to try again. It's as good as it's ever going to be already. It's the same like Raiders of the Lost Ark. You never have to do any more Indiana Jones films. Raiders was perfect. You're never going to be better than that. So, So King Kong, beautiful film. So of course I can't just say that and have the video about 2 minutes long. I have to say more than that. And the thing I would say is, it's amazing how simple it is, this film. Because it's an hour 40 or 45 minutes long, which is long for that time period. Because I mean, a lot of those films were about an hour 20. A lot of films in the adventure canon. Because I mean, if you look at films made in that period, it was like Tarzan films, a lot of adventure films set in the jungle. Even some of the Most Dangerous Game, which is a film made by the same people at the same time, with all the same actors, was about an hour 20. It was not epic at all. That's another good film to see. Most Dangerous Game is also a very good film. It's just not Kong, which is the problem. It's like, yeah, it would be a lot better known if it wasn't the fact it was made at the same time as Kong, the same people, so it becomes the B-movie version of this one. But it is wonderful. And there was a Song of Kong made later. But the original is still the best. Kong is still the best. Kong is still the most moving thing. And it is a very simple story. But the interesting thing is, you don't get to the end of the action till halfway through the film. Like, one of the big things that was hit against Peter Jackson is how long it took to get to Kong. But you watch this movie and it's like 40 minutes in before you get to Kong. There's so much stuff and so much atmosphere before you actually get to Kong. It's like build up, and they have to get from New York to the island. They have to get through the natives. They just have to kidnap Anne. You have to hear about Kong. Kong's brought in a lot as a name, as a fear figure. But because they're working with special effects, there's only so much they can do special effects wise, and there's so much in the second half of the movie that needs Kong and these other monsters to be done. They have to save their budget, so the first half of the movie, you don't get much Kong. You're on a boat for a lot of it. You're in a lot of fast-paced scenes, but you're still on a boat. Not that this is bad stuff, this is really good stuff. I mean, you've got Robert Armstrong as Carl Denham, who's just great. He's just a showman. And he's the guy that powers the first half of the movie. He's the one with the problem. He has to make a film. He's an adventurer. He's a man's man. He does his own stuff. He's got a crew of adventure that stick with him after a few films. Because he pays them well, and they like him even though he's a bit of a lunatic. They even call him a lunatic. And he doesn't mind. It's like, yeah, okay, fine, I'm still paying you, do it. It's great stuff. There's Jack Driscoll, who's his assistant, or he's assistant to the captain, but he's involved with a lot of stuff. And this is the character gets a lot of abuse in reviews afterwards. This is the one who, it was fine at the time, but later in the revisionist reviews, Kong said, okay, he's a stiff, he's the worst character in the film. But actually he's not. He's a certain type of character, very 30s type of character. But he's fine for what he is, because he is a person who they actually portray as being a bit old-fashioned. Even in this film, he's viewed as old-fashioned. It's like he's got old-fashioned ideas of women shouldn't be a ship, which is mocked a little bit, is because Anne Darrow, played by Faye Ray, does mock him a little bit for that, and he takes it. It's not like he's proven right throughout the film or anything. It's like, no, he takes it. He's like he's shy, basically. He's shy. He's got a lot of old-fashioned points of view. And the first half of the film, it's her getting under the skin naturally, getting below the surface of that kind of blowhard thing to see the human beneath that, really. So that's one of the nice things about watching the film again in a projector. You can actually see the way it was meant to be seen. And you can see the little subtleties as well. And it's like, he's not actually as bad as it seems. Because, I mean, as soon as everything goes wrong, he's the guy who goes and gets her back. I mean, he does love her. He is very much in love with her. It's just that it's not the most dynamic character. It's a shy character in the middle of an action movie. But it actually works well for this one because you don't, when Kong arrives, you don't want anyone chewing the scenery. I mean, that's Robert Armstrong's job. He's chewing the scenery anyway. Like, you've already got one guy, and you've got Kong chewing everything else. And you've got the natives going way over the top. But the natives are kind of 30s natives. Stuff you'd see in Tarzan movies. They've got all these weird clothes, and they're always doing the drum and stuff, and it's a caricature of what people thought of natives in the 30s. It's very much African caricature 101. But it works for what it is. It's a tribe that hasn't seen the outside world, that hasn't evolved. Again, it's one of those ones where it's like, yeah, you can criticise it, but you've just been smug because it's 100 years old, almost, the film, and that's what was acceptable then, and it's like, just get over it. Get over yourself. So all this stuff is things that have moved on from the past, but you see them in context, and they're fine. They're just like, that's just the past. That's just the culture was a more conservative culture than we have now, and that's what some of the actors were, but they were having fun with it. And I mean, there's a nice joke. As soon as the natives see Anne Darrow, it's not that she's got blonde hair. It's just that they're sick of actually sacrificing their women to Kong, all their daughters to Kong. It's like, oh, certain other women turned up. They don't care that she's blonde or anything. They just want to stop sacrificing their daughters. You know, they offer some wives for some of the older wives, I think, to Carl Denham to trade for Anne. You're like, no, we're not doing that. But it's kind of like, it's nothing personal. They're just like, oh, we're just sick of Kong and him eating all our daughters. We just want, oh, here's a year off. We can use one of them. You know, it's so practical. It's kind of funny. And there's no mythical thing there. It's just basic practical 101. But there is a lot of joys in the first half of this movie. It is fun. I mean, Armstrong as Denham is just so much fun. He's like, he is a bit mad, he is a bit crazy, but he's so enthusiastic. He's kind of an example of the filmmaker who self-mythologizes, and he knows what he's doing, he knows what he is. He knows he's a bullshit artist, but he's also genuine. And that's what really gives him the charm. The interesting thing is, they're doing this thing in this one where they're actually talking about themes in the film that he's making. He's talking about Beauty and the Beast and stuff like that, and how the beauty destroys the beast in his film, and then it happens in the life of this film. And there's a playfulness to it. It's not overdone. It's not like the Peter Jackson thing overstuffed all that things, and it was kind of annoying. This one is much more natural. It's just it's very playful. Expects you to understand that Denham's bit full of himself, and he tries to dramatise everything, but it shows a much more sophisticated writing we get nowadays, where it's like, yeah, you're in the joke. We respect you enough to know that you're in the joke, you know. But the whole first half is great sense of mood. They're going to this island, but they're not telling you so much foreshadowing. You've got all that stuff where Denham discovers Anne Darrow, and he has to encourage her to come to the island. So he's a film director, he's going to do the island. Everyone knows who he is, and a lot of actors will not work with him because they know it's dangerous. And because he doesn't really care about, stuff like, making it comfortable for people. You know, it's just let's go and do this thing. So all that's beautiful. The whole thing, the whole setup. You see, you go through the fog to Skull Island. You see an island, and this whole is a mystery of what Skull Island. When you get to the natives, this is a mystery. You know, what is Kong? And eventually Kong shows up, and Kong is just so charming as a stop motion. He's mainly stop motion, but every so often you've got a hand or a mask thing where people are eating, things like that. But yeah, so charming, so naive. And that's the thing this film gets right, that no other Kong film really gets, how naive Kong is, how simple he is. He's not a character with lots of emotion, he's an innocent. He's never dealt with emotions before. He just survives in this jungle, that's it. There's nothing more. You don't have to go into any other kind of psychology at all, it's just he's an innocent who survives in the jungle. He doesn't have any parents, he's just trying to survive on his own. You don't know how old he is. He's just this person who has to fight these dinosaurs to survive. He's all alone. The people who are terrified of him, so give him sacrifice. So you're never quite sure who started it. Was this something that an earlier predecessor of Kong started, and now it's just handed down, or what happened? You don't know. There's so much stuff you don't know, and you don't need to know. It's just Kong's here. That situation. And as soon as we get into Kong appears, that's the film just kicks up another level, because Kong's so charming, and what they have to do is so great. Because after Kong takes Anne, the next 20 minutes is just with the sailors going through the jungle chasing them, and they're meeting up all these other dinosaurs who are attacking them, who just see them as today's snack. I'm thinking wiped out. I mean, all the sailors that go there, there's tons of them to go. Only 2 people survive, which is Driscoll and Carl Denham. Everyone else dies horribly. And it's like, it's way more brutal than other films. It's just, they all die in the most brutal ways possible. And it's just great. I mean, it really is great. It's just so wonderful to watch them. I just in over their heads. They're just so unready for this. And then finally, when they face off Kong, he finishes him off, and basically it's Driscoll following Kong at this point to get Daryl out by himself, which leads him going to Kong's home in Skull Island and actually sneaking about while Kong's been attacked by a flying monster. So every 2 minutes another monster coming up, and there's always Kong always there. And it's just like monster after monster after monster. It's just this atmosphere of chaos. I remember as a kid, you never knew what was going to happen next in this film. It just felt like, I remember just feeling it was very brutal, because everybody expected to live or get killed off left and right. And it's like, and when they've all been wiped out and Kong's still there, it's like, well, what's going to happen next? I remember thinking that when I was watching, I was like, what's going to happen next now? They've all been wiped out. And then eventually it's just a case of one man versus a monster, and it's him getting Anne back. And of course, he chases after them and utterly destroys the village at some point. I mean, he came through the wall pretty quickly if he wanted to. And when he's enraged, once Driscoll's got her back and they've escaped, Kong comes for them and utterly destroys the village in a way which you don't see in other movies. Kong does not destroy the villages the way he does here. And even with the 30 special effects, it still looks really impressive when you're watching it projected. And it's just great. Of course, Kong is taken back to America. He's an innocent abroad. He doesn't know what he's in for. And eventually, they have to hunt him down and kill him. And once he escapes, he's still going after Anne. There's something about her that just gets to him. Even though she doesn't understand him at all, she just wants away from him. There's no, love story thing here. She wants away from him. He wants her, and he doesn't know why, but there's just something about her that's just got him. I mean, he's a stalker. He gets Me Too to hell. He'd be cancelled right now. He is cancelled by the planes. So he takes her up to the Empire State Building, and there's just this poor monster who does not understand what's happening to him. He does not understand that he has no place in this world. And again, it's just scene after scene of this poor ape. Now, I'm actually talking about stuff you've seen before, but I thought it'd be easier to actually talk about my impressions of watching it again, projected, much more like the experience of it again, because when you see it projected, it is different. Like, the story beats play out differently because you've seen the world more. And you re-experience the world as you feel them as a child almost, because you're seeing them, you see the detailing of the craftsmanship. Like, the attack by the kind of monster in the water. On TV it's fun, but watching it projected it's actually pretty scary because, or it would be scary for younger people who wouldn't know what's happening. I remember being scared by it as a kid because it was just unexpected. It was just like, whoa. And we see it again projected. It looks amazing. You see the layers of the imagery going back as they're dealing with Stegosaurus and they're shooting it. And there's all these weird things where you actually can tell that they're walking, they're walking, but not, the background's moving, but they're not moving as they're walking to do this tracking shot. Because you can see their legs in a way that you wouldn't see in TV, which is really fascinating, some of the techniques that you still do even nowadays. And there's so much imagination into this. It's like they've got so many things where foregrounds and backgrounds. I mean, the weird thing is when you're watching it, because you're projecting it, and it's old-fashioned equipment, sometimes it's not everything's always in the most greatest of focus because you've got layers of imagery going on in the film. Sort of what I'm doing here, where there's a layer of image behind me, and you can sort of tell it doesn't belong together. They're doing that with far more basic equipment, and you can't tell, but it's fascinating to watch. It does create a sense of otherworldliness. Like when you actually go to the Skull Mountain, where you've got like the big giant snake, where Kong's fighting the giant snake, and then the giant attacking flying monster. It's a world of its own. It's just like you want to stay there a lot longer than you do. You're only really there for like 5 minutes, but you want to see much more of it. There's even weird things we see that some humans within shots with Kong have been stop motion animated, and they don't look quite right, the movements, but it's still fascinating to watch because it creates this other feeling to the film that is just, this is beautiful. And in Kong, when he actually, again, the thing about projecting it is when Kong climbs Empire State Building, it looks genuinely beautiful. I mean, you get the full sense of pathos of Kong doing that. You really do sense it. And again, what you get when you're projecting it actually is a sense of the kind of simplicity of Kong. In a way that if you're watching TV, maybe someone else is on, so you kind of looking away and things. When you're projecting, you actually focus as if you're watching an actual cinema experience. And you just get the simplicity of Kong. The sense that he's sniffing the clothes of Anne sometimes, and he's trying to work it out, and there's obviously some sexual undertone that's not quite developed, but it's just this animal trying to work it out. Him versus the T-Rex we can see behind me here is wonderful because it is like they're getting thrown each other around. It is a difficult fight. And the thing about Kong in this film is that he's not invincible. He gets shot and he's injured. It only takes one, he's not overpowered, it only takes one gas cancer to take him down. He's just a giant ape. He's a simple giant ape. There's nothing astonished about him. He's just big. Like, he can trash cars in New York. He can kill people. He can trash the train. All that stuff is wonderful when you watch it projected. But again, it's the simplicity of him, the simplicity of his environment, of him fighting a T-Rex, is the fact is how difficult it is for him to do stuff. There's no like, oh, this is easy. I mean, the big problem with the Peter Jackson one is he is a bit overpowered. You do feel he can do a lot more than he actually needs to. He's fighting like 3 T-Rexes at one time, and it's like, it's a bit over the top. The whole film's a bit over the top. It's wonderful in that way, but it's a bit over the top. This one is much more simple. It's difficult for him to survive, but he's still the king of the jungle. He will beat anything, but he will get injured. So it's not an easy thing to do for him. And when he gets to New York, he's doomed. His powers are nothing compared to the armies. And he is an animal. He's a genuine animal in this city, because, I mean, he's looking for Anne, he picks a woman out of the window. It's not her, so he just drops her. When he gets Anne, he takes off to the top of the Empire State Building. And the plane sequence is just great because it's still so menacing, and he is so simple, and he is trapped at the top of the world in a way that no other version of Kong can really do. He's just trapped. He's a trapped creature, and there's no escape for him. So as a moving film, you really get the how moving the film is when you watch it projected. You can see it much more in the big screen experience, and I've had the music playing, and the sound effects in this film for the 30s is really good because you've got all this background stuff that floats from one scene to the other to always suggest Kong's there, suggest the threat. They did a lot of work on the sound and the music, not just Kong himself, to create this world. So you've got like layers of imagery going on, you've layers of music going on, and layers of sound, and it's all been done with great care. They've really put the effort in to really make it work. I just sometimes don't think people appreciate it as much as they probably should, especially if you see it on TV. It's just an old film. You don't realise how much work went into this film, and it's a film that really needs to be seen big screen. It's not a it's a film you see on TV a lot, and you probably introduced it on TV, but it's a film that needs a big screen. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's all you wanted from a King Kong video. And I'll be back soon with another film. Right, bye for now.